the small town of Meridian, Idaho, the Halderson family appeared to live a picture-perfect life, with Chandler Halderson at the center of it all, a teenager who outwardly seemed ordinary, polite, and ambitious, someone his neighbors, teachers, and peers respected and trusted, a young man who attended school, completed his assignments, and interacted with his family in a seemingly normal fashion. Yet behind closed doors, a different reality existed, because Chandler had begun constructing a second life, a fabricated existence. This involved claiming a job he never had, experiences he never attended, friends he never met, and an independence that was entirely fictional. A performance so elaborate that even those closest to him were unaware of the extent of his deception. It began innocuously enough, with small exaggerations, telling little lies about part-time jobs or school activities. But over time, these lies grew larger, more intricate, forming a web of falsehoods that would eventually encompass every aspect of his daily life. Chandler documented this carefully, posting photos online that suggested a lifestyle he did not live, crafting narratives of responsibility and maturity, while he remained under the roof of his parents, living off them financially, emotionally, and socially. And this duplicity created a tension that was invisible to outsiders, but increasingly palpable in private, because as he built this alternate persona, he also began to disengage from genuine responsibilities, manipulating situations to maintain the illusion, deceiving teachers, classmates, and even close friends, creating a cognitive dissonance that would eventually strain his family dynamic. As weeks and months passed, the Halderson family noticed small inconsistencies, the occasional unexplained disappearance, and vague excuses. Statements that didn't align with reality were dismissed as teenage exaggeration, because a veneer of normalcy was so meticulously maintained. Yet, within the digital footprint Chandler left, a trail of fabricated experiences began to emerge. Posts claiming work at companies that did not exist, check-ins at locations never visited, photos taken from stock images, evidence of a personality constructing reality that only existed on screens, an illusion curated to withstand scrutiny until the contradictions became more pronounced. Because lies have a way of fracturing under pressure. In Chandler's case, these fractures set the stage for a psychological unraveling, making it impossible to maintain both identities. This created cognitive pressure that would eventually explode into violence. As we trace this timeline of deception and identity, each small lie built upon the last, creating a structure that could not endure, shocking a community and the nation, reading the signs backward from the crime to the initial fabrications, from the small lies to the ultimate betrayal. As Chandler's fabricated life became more elaborate, the tension at home began to escalate, though outward appearances remained controlled. In public, he maintained the persona of an ambitious young man, yet in private, arguments and suspicions slowly emerged. His parents noticed the growing disconnect between what Chandler claimed and what he actually did, causing him to isolate himself further. Inventing reasons to leave home, he created schedules that existed only to maintain the illusion of independence. The more he succeeded in deceiving the outside world, the more he internalized the persona, blurring the line between reality and fiction. This blurring created emotional instability, a fragile balance between pride in his deception and fear of exposure. The cognitive strain of sustaining such a life is immense, resulting in emotional outbursts, manipulations, and ultimately, a violent resolution. When the tension between reality and illusion reaches a breaking point, the consequences can be catastrophic. In the days preceding the crime, evidence suggests that Chandler experienced heightened anxiety, paranoia, and agitation. He knew that the house of cards he had built was beginning to collapse, signaled by increased secrecy and erratic behavior. While these signs might have been detectable, his parents dismissed them as typical adolescent stress or teenage mood swings. In retrospect, they were the precursors to the act that would irrevocably alter a family, a community, and the national consciousness. The tragedy was not only in the act itself, but in the prolonged deception that enabled it, a cautionary tale of masked instability. The story of Chandler Halderson shows how unchecked deception can lead to outcomes that shock a community and haunt the collective imagination. The day of the crime, according to reconstructed timelines and law enforcement reports, began like any other, with the Halderson family following their daily routines. They were unaware that the meticulously constructed facade maintained by Chandler Halderson would soon collapse in the most violent and irreversible way possible. Chandler, now isolated and trapped in the tension between his fabricated life and reality, executed a premeditated act that ended the lives of his parents. It was a horrifying culmination of deceit, frustration, and psychological pressure that had been building for months. After committing the murders, Chandler attempted to continue his charade, acting as if nothing had happened, covering evidence and fabricating alibis. He manipulated friends and authorities, behaviors consistent with someone accustomed to lying and constructing false narratives. This temporary control over perception delayed discovery, giving him the illusion of invincibility. Yet the forensic evidence, digital communications, and witness statements slowly converged, revealing the horrifying truth. When law enforcement finally intervened, the full scale of the crime emerged, revealing the tragic loss of life and the deception that preceded it. Chandler's actions were not merely impulsive, but the result of an intricate web of lies and manipulations. Investigators found a chilling pattern: repeated lies, deliberate planning, and calculated attempts to hide his involvement. This revealed the profound gap between outward appearances and hidden reality, illustrating how familial trust can be weaponized. As media coverage intensified, the case became a national talking point, drawing attention to the psychology of deception and the fragility of trust. The Chandler Halderson case is not just a story of murder, it is a study in human behavior and the consequences of living lies. The community grappled with shock and reflection, attempting to understand how such a tragedy could occur and what warning signs were missed. Every aspect of this case provides insight into the dangerous intersection of deception, psychology, and human behavior. In the following years, the case continued to captivate the public because it combined universal elements: deception, betrayal, and family collapse. Evidence presented in court highlighted the extensive fabrications that had defined Chandler's life leading up to the tragedy. Discussions proliferated about the role of social media in constructing false identities and the importance of vigilance within families. This case reminds us that appearances are not always reliable, and that trust can be exploited by those driven by desperation. The tragedy was the systematic unraveling of truth, trust, and reality, a process that began with small lies and escalated into fatal violence. The human mind, when subjected to pressure, can produce acts of violence that shock even those who know the perpetrator most intimately. We close this story with a reminder: subscribe to Criminalverse, where every crime hides a story.